It's Monday, December the 8th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. 4 decades ago, he killed a police officer. Now he's being released from prison. New looks for one of Canada's oldest markets on its 150th.
A fresh round of polar air makes for a frigid Tuesday in the Maritimes, watching for a mix of snow and rain Wednesday night.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The man who killed a police officer almost 40 years ago is in the process of becoming a free man, and that has the victim's family members disappointed. CTV's Derek Haggett spoke with one of them.
The man who shot and killed a New Brunswick Highway Patrol officer in 1987 has been released on day parole. That's according to the daughter of Constable Emmanuel O'Coin. She attended the hearing at Dorchester Penitentiary last week.
It's a tough decision, but he's also been in for 38 years, which is a really long time.
Anthony Philip Romeo was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. He's an American citizen and could be deported back to the U.S.
Is he already out? Is he in a halfway house while waiting to be brought to the States, or is he already in the States? Like, I don't know how fast all those processes actually happen.
Valerie O'Coin's father was shot and killed during a traffic stop near Fredericton. Romeo had previously fled the United States, where he was wanted for murder. Denied parole in 2012 and 2022, Romeo would now basically be a free man if deported because he would be outside Canadian jurisdiction and unsupervised.
We wouldn't be able to ensure they were being enforced. That's where the big problem lies with these types of cases.
During his trial in 1988, a psychiatrist testified that Romeo thought he was being followed by a monster. Now 62, he's been taking medication for paranoid schizophrenia for years. Valerie O'Coin was just 7 years old when her father was shot and killed. She says that's a long time ago, but she misses him greatly and thinks about him quite a bit. The O'Coin family was living in Harvey, New Brunswick at the time of the tragedy.
I was a kid, so I remember like a really great dad. He was always there, played with my brother and I lots. Like, we had a cute little farmhouse and in a small town west of Fredericton, and it was a nice little life from what I remember.
Obviously disappointed with the decision, O'Coin says she thinks the man who killed her father is not a threat to society. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Dorchester, New Brunswick.
Fire crews are still on the scene of a blaze that destroyed a major employer in Wallace, Nova Scotia. This is what it looked like this morning when firefighters arrived at the Aquashell lobster processing plant on the Northumberland shore. There were about 50 people working in the facility at the time. No one was injured. Everyone did get out safely, but the decades-old business is a total loss with about 100 employees now out of work. The fire chief described it as a firestorm because of the winds. Now, besides the plant, a dozen vehicles were also burned. Nearby homes had to be evacuated because of the smoke. There's no word right now on how the fire started. An investigation is underway. This was yet another snow day for many students around the region, including Cape Breton, where another hit of winter closed City Hall and canceled ferry crossings. CTV's Ryan McDonald reports.
It was a winter whiteout in snowy Sydney today, where a new week began the same way the last one ended, with slippery conditions and plenty of cancellations.
Oh, well, another snow day for us, so we'll take it.
For the 4th school day in a row, students in the Cape Breton Victoria Regional Centre for Education had the day off. Classes were cancelled in the Strait area too.
Well, I'm a teacher myself, so it's not too bad for me, luckily. But yes, I'm sure it is pretty difficult for parents.
You've had like 4, counting the weekend, 6 straight days off of school.
Yep.
What do you think of that?
I think that is awesome.
On Highway 102 outside of Halifax, this tractor-trailer jackknifed. There were no reported injuries. In St. John, they are ready for the cleanup with a winter parking ban in place tonight for part of the city.
Under any kind of conditions where we have snow removal equipment operating, the winter parking ban becomes effective.
It's a similar story in the Cape Breton Regional Municipality. While the winter parking ban here wasn't otherwise set to begin until a week from now, it's in effect tonight so that city crews can deal with all this snow.
The main message from the municipality today is to keep your vehicles off the street so the winter plows can do their jobs and clear the streets. It's for safety for everybody, for the passage of emergency vehicles and everything we do in winter weather.
The good news for those having to shovel is that this snow is light as a feather.
Powdered. It's all powdered. There's no heavy.
While some people's places of employment closed early today, for plenty of others, the workday went on as usual.
I don't want to go to work, but it's very cold and I don't know what to say. I'm freezing right now.
And while it's been a harsher than normal start to this winter, not everyone is hating it.
I love it. It's wicked. This is Cape Breton. We're born to this.
I like it. I like it. It's Christmassy.
Up next for many, though, is an evening spent digging out. And Todd, we are here on the Esplanade in downtown Sydney, where, as anyone cozily sitting at home can see right now, the snow has basically stopped. It fell from about 9 to 5 today, roughly the hours that people were working, which is what I meant when I said that most people, myself included, will have to begin the cleanup this evening. Another thing I can say, it is cold out here, so anyone who has to shovel this evening, bundle up.
Ryan, you've reported on a lot of December weather over the years. How does this one rank?
I can tell you that for early in December, this isn't normal. This is usually the time of year we're wondering if we'll have a green or a white Christmas. But this is like the dead of winter out here. It's more like something we would get in, at the end of January or February. We just got back from a trip down south. I can tell you, I was at a Miami Heat game a week ago tonight. So to come home to this is a shock to the system, to say the least.
I bet, and it's only December 8th. There's a lot more to come. Ryan McDonald in Sydney right now. Thank you. And that's how things are looking right now in a very chilly St. John, minus 13 degrees. And as Ryan mentioned in his report, there is a parking ban this evening for the South and Central Peninsula. Begins at 11 tonight until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. All right, let's bring in Caleb Mitchell and get a look at things, and you've got some numbers to go through.
Yeah, and once again, I mean, we do get this type of cold during the winter season, Todd, but it's typically a little bit later into the season, right? You expect it more around like mid to late January and February, and that's why it's sort of standing out here at the beginning of this month. Let's take a look at some snowfall reports around the region. Now, these are all preliminary and unofficial at this point in time. Some of them kind of came in from this morning when there was some snow still falling in the area. There were a couple of sort of bullseyes, though, with this weather system. One of those was right around the southwestern corner of New Brunswick, where some locations, like even like Grand Harbor on Grand Manan, reported 17 centimeters of snow, and 16 near Chamcook and 12 at St. Stephen. St. John could have gotten similar snowfall amounts to that as well. The airport reported 7 centimeters, but some of the pictures I was seeing from the city looked a little bit snowier than that. There was also a sort of a bullseye in around parts of the Annapolis Valley of Nova Scotia, where there were some reports of around 10 to 20 centimeters of snow. Up around the north shore of the province, there were some amounts that came reported to me from both some viewers and from some automatic weather stations there measuring snow on ground levels that came in around the 20 centimeter mark. And then into Cape Breton, where I've got some, again, very preliminary reports of around 10 to 19 centimeters of snow right now, including one report from a viewer sent me in a nice picture as well, measuring that snowfall of around 19 centimeters at North Sydney. A few to several centimeters of snow around parts of Prince Edward Island, areas of the southeast of New Brunswick as well. Remember, it doesn't take that much snow to make conditions slick on those roads. Now, in behind that passing weather system, it's strengthening. It's moving out towards Newfoundland. In the cold northwest wind, there will be a risk of snow squalls off the Gulf of St. Lawrence and the Northumberland Strait. So snow squall watch is continuing for Pictou and Antigonish County, as well as across Cape Breton. And that risk continues into the start of the day for tomorrow. After that, any snow squalls around should begin to diminish and weaken moving into the afternoon. There's a really good squall set up right now, just coming in right across the Port Hawkesbury area towards the Canso Causeway. So anybody driving across the causeway this evening and tonight should be aware that if you get into that squall, your visibility is likely to come down. I mentioned the storm system is past us. It does continue to strengthen as it moves up to impact parts of Newfoundland, and they've got extensive blowing snow advisories in effect, a few winter storm warnings, and a wind warning out for the Avalon Peninsula. So they're expected to get even into stronger winds as that system continues to move through. Very cold night ahead for the Maritimes. A lot of wind chills tonight will be making it feel down into the minus teens and minus 20s. and I'll have more on the forecast for the week when I come back a little bit later on.
Okay, thanks. We'll see you in a few minutes for that. People living in an area of Dartmouth continue to boil their water tonight after a weekend water main break. The utility says it's been resolved, but still want customers to follow a boil advisory. CTV's Vanessa Wright has the details.
Halifax Water says a main break on Waverley Road Saturday has been repaired and that water service has returned. But a boil water advisory will stay in place for roughly 2,000 customers until further notice.
Very disappointing for a lot of people. Fortunately, it's not too widespread.
At the time, the utility said crews were able to isolate the pipe break and limit the number of locations without water to 75. Some businesses, like this beauty salon, were among those affected.
For us, we just had pressure problems and discoloration here. So, and it's difficult because we use, we're very sanitation, we're at a salon, so we need to have our implements sanitized.
The utility says it is waiting on Nova Scotia Environment and Climate Change for clearance to lift the boil order.
So we have sent water quality sampling to them, and once they give us the approval, we'll be able to lift the order.
A comfort center that was set up over the weekend for those impacted was closed today following the water main repair. It wouldn't be the first time the utility faced service disruptions. They're thanking customers for their understanding.
It's just one of those inevitabilities. It's not something that the water department can predict, really. So I kind of sympathize with their situation, and of course the people have to boil their water too.
I hope it won't be for much longer. Vanessa Wright, CTV News, Dartmouth.
It's been a bumpy ride for airline customers in the Maritimes in the past year or so. They've had to navigate strikes at the major airlines. With holiday travel nearing, Air Transit is now facing job action that could ground flights. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness has the latest.
The holiday travel season is here, and with snow falling around in Nova Scotia, some turn their thoughts to beaches and palm trees.
In particular, we really love those sun destinations.
There are 10 destinations in the Caribbean and Mexico served direct non-stop from Halifax. But with a work stoppage on the horizon for Air Transat, there could be a few less options for vacationers.
So they operate 4 sun seasonal destinations, and they're on a weekly or twice weekly basis. So there's approximately 1,400 departing passengers who could be affected.
After a year of negotiations that didn't produce a new contract, the pilots' union issued their 72-hour strike notice yesterday. Wages are a sticking point. Today, the company announced flights would be continuing as scheduled and that a program was starting to bring as many travelers back home as possible. Union officials say they're ready to talk.
We're engaged, we're at the table, and we want a deal to make sure that our passengers can get to their destination.
Air Transit is pretty popular in the Atlantic region.
The airline's flights out of Halifax are scheduled to start next week. More will follow later in the winter. A prolonged strike could not only affect Air Transat passengers, but also limit the availability on other airlines.
Anytime we take one airline out of the mix, the others are impacted. So seat capacity on other airlines is going to be impacted if one airline goes down.
In an email to CTV, the company says negotiations took place through the night and progress was made. Discussions are continuing today. Jonathan McGuinness, CTV News, Halifax Stanfield International Airport.
Toxic drugs are making their way around the Maritimes that are more dangerous and proving deadly. As CTV's Avery McRae tells us it's worrying police, health officials, and those who help the homeless.
As temperatures drop, those who work with people living on the streets say their situation grows more desperate.
A lot of it is survival. They're not necessarily doing these things because they're fun.
At Avenue B's harm reduction office, they are worried about the toxicity levels of street drugs. Fredericton's police chief recently noted overdoses in his city have tripled in just 2 years, and more toxic strains like carfentanil are now circulating in the community. St. John has lost 15 people off the streets during 2025, including 4 in recent weeks, some of which were a result of a toxic overdose.
We have the magic pill that makes sure you're not hungry and you're not cold, and that's just the truth on the street. Is substance use for many starts as a survival mechanism and then becomes like an actual substance abuse problem.
While no one is promoting substance use, officials urge those who use to check their drugs first. In St. John, it can be done with no questions asked at Avenue B.
It continues to be a toxic drug crisis with a lot of substances mixed. Folks that have administered naloxone, both our clients, our community partners are saying that it's increasing the amount of naloxone that's needed to bring somebody back.
And with the calendar still not officially reading winter, frontline agencies know the months ahead will be a challenge.
We lose people every month all year long, so this is becoming the norm for our unsheltered population.
A normal Vautour says won't change without more housing and support options for those who are vulnerable. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. John.
One day after the deadline for people to pack up and leave a tent encampment in Lower Flynn Park in Halifax, a few people still remain. The city says 25 people have left the park, with many of them finding indoor shelter and housing. But about half a dozen tents remain, but the city says they're still working to help people find a place to stay. Fencing and cleanup of the area will begin soon. On November 5th, the city announced it would be de-designating the encampment site. There are now only 2 designated encampment sites in the Halifax area. And we have much more reporting on both of these stories at ctvnewsatlantic.ca right now. There are big things on the horizon for one of the region's historic sites. The St. John's City Market turns 150 next year, and with it, big celebration and construction projects are coming. Here again is CTV's Avery McRae.
For 34 years, Linda Cook has been a central figure at the heart of the St. John City Market and recalls 2025 as one of the better recent years.
Rather full, rather busy, a lot of visitors. I found that the visitors arrived earlier than usual.
Not only was it busy from a traffic standpoint, but also with construction. New vendors have and will soon move in, while others have shifted spots amid a 10-year strategic plan to reimagine the space.
You see the wild carrot now, it's moved back to the posts. So we're doing that over there as we are in the Jeremiah space and the Kim's Korean space to make room for the new seating area within the market.
Enhanced seating plans highlight the big changes coming in 2026, which will also mean the removal of the long-standing center aisle. But that doesn't mean those middle vendors will be forgotten.
The market is the vendors, so we need to make sure that they know what's going on and that they're a part of the conversation. I'll be frank, there are some situations where some vendors might not fully understand or fully agree with it, but the whole point of this exercise is making this market better, making it as best we can for everybody.
Tracy Brown is one of those middle vendors and expressed excitement for the changes.
I think that there is still a very promising future here at St. John City Market, and I can't wait.
A more detailed construction plan will be presented to council in the weeks ahead, with work expected to begin in early 2026, which just so happens to be the same year the city market turns 150 years old. Big celebrations are planned throughout the milestone year, with a focus to complete the bulk of construction in the first half of the year and party during the peak tourist season.
We're talking about all kinds of collaborations with community, working with artists, working with vendors, lots of great parties planned.
Parties that will celebrate the old and the new of Canada's longest running farmers market. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. John.
Time for our first break on this Monday evening. Still to come, a risk of snow squalls for parts of the region. Kalen will return with the full forecast details. But next, Japan feels another jolt. Tsunami warnings and evacuation orders were issued for the northern part of the country following a strong earthquake. We'll have the details after this. A couple of minutes ago, we heard about the water situation in Dartmouth. Well, in the last couple of minutes, we just received a boil water advisory for Moncton. So I'm just going to read what it says here. A boiled water advisory has been issued due to a water main break that occurred earlier today. The location is an area bordered by Wheeler Boulevard in the north and west, Millennium Boulevard in the south, and West Lane in the east, as well as the Westbrook Circle area. So you can probably get more details at the City of Moncton website if you want to check that out. But folks who are in those areas, if you heard your street area red, you were asked to boil the water. Certainly we will follow this up tomorrow. All right, to international news, and a powerful 7.6 magnitude earthquake struck off the northern part of Japan today, and it triggered a tsunami in coastal communities and warnings of surges. NBC's Ralph Sanchez has the latest.
Around 90,000 people have been ordered to evacuate their homes in northeastern Japan after a 7.6 magnitude earthquake was detected off the country's coast, triggering fears of a tsunami. The Japanese government initially issuing a tsunami warning, saying that there could be waves as high as 10 feet all along the eastern seaboard. They later downgraded that to a tsunami advisory, but there are still deep concerns across Japan right now. Train services have been suspended in some northern parts of the country. We know that electricity is out in certain areas, power lines going down as a result of the quake. The Japanese Prime Minister addressing the nation in the early hours of the morning over there, saying that at this point, some injuries have been reported. From what we can see, many of the injuries appear to be the result either of broken glass, people slipping on icy roads. There also, at this stage, is no indication of any damage to the country's nuclear facilities. Now, that is important because this quake happening really not that far from the site that triggered the massive 2011 tsunami. That, of course, killed 20,000 people. It led to the meltdown at the Fukushima nuclear plant, a deep, deep tragedy that has gone on to scar Japan. Authorities are warning it is possible that there could be further tremors to come, and if that does happen, there could be fresh concerns over a tsunami. Ralph Sanchez, NBC News, London.
In our region, here's the good news, less snow. The bad news, very cold. Tuesday especially. Kaylin has the details after this commercial break. Because you probably didn't get enough from Ryan's story. Look at that guy. He managed to pull himself together there. He was slipping and sliding in the background, and there was plenty of that today, certainly in Cape Breton.
Yeah.
And those spots in the valley that you mentioned as well. A bit of a jackpot for snowfall anyway.
My thinking is we're going to have to get used to this type of weather. Because I think this is the way it's going to go this winter for us.
Yeah, you think this is we're in for a prolonged period of this?
There's a lot of cold air that's been breaking down out of the north pretty early. Haven't seen any signs of that pattern changing yet. When we go into like a season, I like to use a persistence forecast. Basically, what I'm seeing now is going to carry on until there is a significant change. It was the same thing when we were looking at the drought conditions over the summertime as well. So I think a lot of cold air going to be headed our way, and that really kind of juices things up, potential for bigger snow events.
Okay.
Well, let's take a look at what's going on across the country and looking at west right now. Hey, there's an atmospheric river coming into BC, and they got a lot of rain now around the south coast. Some rainfall warnings have been issued. In the meantime, for southern parts of the prairies, southern Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, winter storm watch has been issued for weather system arriving tonight through Tuesday, bringing that part of the country a mixture of some freezing rain and some snow. Up north, it's all about the cold. Whitehorse right now sitting at -22, -26 Yellowknife. Iqaluit actually not sharing in that bitterly cold air at the moment, currently sitting at -3. Where there is a lot of cold air, though, out northern Ontario, a lot of cold air through Quebec, and of course now coming into the Maritimes in the northwest wind that's following and behind the weather system that went through today. Now, we talked about this earlier, but that cold northwest wind coming in over the Gulf of St. Lawrence has potential to produce some snow squalls. Does look like there's a decent snow squall ongoing right now, coming down through and towards the Port Hawkesbury area, and there's a risk of some further snow squalls as we make our way through tonight and into early Tuesday morning. You get into one of those, your visibility can come down. You can certainly run into some snow-covered roads, which of course there are around parts of the Maritimes already anyways. Now, the situation with the snow squalls will be improving as we move through Tuesday afternoon, or Tuesday morning into Tuesday afternoon. A lower chance of flurries Tuesday afternoon around Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. And then for New Brunswick for tomorrow, mostly sunny. Winds in the forecast for Tuesday will be out of the west. They're going to be sustained 10 to 20 kilometers per hour. There'll be some gusts getting up between 20 and 40, especially for Prince Edward Island and eastern areas of Nova Scotia. Something the entirety of the Maritimes is going to notice both tonight and tomorrow. It's going to be very cold. A lot of low temperatures tonight, minus 15 to minus 19 for New Brunswick, down to around minus 12 for many communities in Prince Edward Island, and a lot of low temperatures for Nova Scotia tonight between minus 10 and minus 15. Taking a look at highs in the forecast for tomorrow in the north of New Brunswick, between minus 7 and minus 11, with the wind chill making it feel between minus 12 and minus 15. Tomorrow afternoon through central and southern areas of New Brunswick, high temperatures minus 6 to minus 9, but again, a wind chill making it feel into the minus teens. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow, the high temperature around minus 7, but with the wind chill making it feel near minus 13. And there'll be some wind chill values tomorrow afternoon in eastern areas of Nova Scotia, making it feel between minus 9 and minus 13. The actual high temperatures will be in the range of around minus 3 to minus 5. Northern and central areas of Nova Scotia for tomorrow, colder in Cumberland, Colchester, and Hants counties. There, highs between minus 5 and minus 7. In Halifax County, the high temperature is mostly between minus 3 and minus 5. Wind chill, though, will be a factor. The Annapolis Valley tomorrow with high temperatures of around minus 5. And on the south shore of Nova Scotia, most of the high temperatures between minus 2 and minus 4. Now, there's another weather system coming up for the Maritimes. It's arriving Wednesday night into Thursday. It does come in with a warm-up, so that one is looking like it is going to be more of a mixture of snow and rain for the region. Here's an outlook into where some of the steadier snow may fall with it, though, and that's mostly going to be through northern areas of New Brunswick, where it's potentially 10 to 20 centimeters. So that's coming again through Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. The snow rain line should push up towards central areas of New Brunswick. Still a potential, though, in around the Fredericton area. Could go either way. Might be a little bit lower if the rain gets in there, 2 to 5 centimeters. However, if it stays as snow, you might see those snowfall amounts climb up closer to the 10-centimeter mark. Snowfall accumulation should be limited around the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island. They end up with a little bit more rain out of that next weather system. So that is coming up Wednesday night into Thursday for New Brunswick. Finishes as some flurries on Thursday. It's a mix of sun and cloud, colder for the end of the week on Friday. And for the start of the upcoming weekend, there's a chance of flurries Sunday into Monday. For Nova Scotia in the outlook, coming up on Wednesday during the day, a mixture of some flurries and showers. Then a round of rain moving through Wednesday night and early Thursday morning. It then clears out. Temperatures get colder in behind it. It's flurries in the forecast for Friday. Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud. Snow possible on Sunday at the end of the weekend, followed by a chance of flurries for the start of next week. For Prince Edward Island in the forecast coming up on Wednesday, it's that mixture of snow turning over to rain coming in Wednesday night, then finishing as some flurries and showers on Thursday. It gets colder again on Friday, flurries in the forecast. Start of the weekend on Saturday, mix of sun and cloud, highs of around minus 2. Snow possible on Sunday, and that's followed by a chance of some flurries on Monday of next week. Todd.
All right. Thank you, Kalen. We'll see you for the wake-up weather at the end of the show. Next, we're going to talk about the state of Canada-U.S. trade talks, if there are trade talks, and who's in the running for a Golden Globe. Stay with us.
Okay, so coming up tomorrow's Text True Tuesday for your chance to win a $200 gift card to Shoppers Drug Mart.
You could also win a pair of sunglasses from Vogue Optical at 7:30. Good luck.
Welcome back. Well, of course, the Prime Minister was just in Washington for the FIFA World Cup draw, and while he was there, he met with the President of Mexico, had a brief exchange with U.S. President Donald Trump that was caught on camera, a chat more than anything substantive, really. Joining us tonight, we haven't had him on in a while, CTV U.S. political analyst Eric Ham in Washington. I apologize for that, Eric. It's good to see you.
It's good to be with you always. Thanks so much for having me.
Look, we've seen some pleasantries between Mr. Carney and Mr. Trump of late. Not much more beyond that, but at a gala at the Kennedy Center, the president was asked what he thought about possible discussions with Canada, and he seemed fairly open, you know, to suggesting, oh, maybe we can get something done. Is there anything to that, or are we just again on the treadmill?
No, I think you're still very much on the treadmill. And also, too, now that we know that the CUSMA negotiations are coming up in earnest in 2026, I think there's a very real possibility that you could actually get off this treadmill, because we're still hearing from a number of Trump insiders, including the U.S. Trade Representative, who, as we know, last week held the first of a series of public hearings on the CUSMA agreement. And so we know that they heard from a number of different people, from academic individuals to trade representatives to businesses and farmers and the like. And while everyone is certainly singing their praises of CUSMA, it is still going to ultimately come down to the president's decision whether or not he actually wants this agreement to stand. And while we do know that the president continues to sing the praises of Prime Minister Carney personally, Donald Trump still does not have a level of camaraderie or affection or even reverence for the relationship between the United States and Canada. And it's still not a given that he will actually keep this agreement intact.
Well, and in fact, he's been, I guess, rather coy about that, but saying, yeah, maybe I won't want that. Maybe I'll want to have individual deals with Mexico and Canada. And, you know, he's even brought up that type of thing about the EU and how the EU should be disbanded so he can have individual trading agreements with those countries. So Canadians in that negotiating team are asking the general public here to be patient. Seems like some American companies, though, you kind of alluded to it, are losing their patience a bit with the White House. It was certainly Home Depot was the, you know, sort of the banner holder for that.
Well, I think we need to be clear about something. It's not that many of these companies are actually saying, you know, upset with the White House. It's just that they're now at a place and a point where they're finally actually going public with their frustration and what they have been feeling now for a year. If you take companies like Ford Motor Company, for example, they have literally just had to eat the cost to the tune of nearly $2 billion. And that is money that they have until now been withholding so as not to pass these massive costs of tariffs onto consumers. And so businesses are hurting right now. But again, the last thing that any of these companies want to have to undergo is the wrath of Donald Trump. And so that's why you have seen them continue to bite their tongue. But I think we're now reaching a point where, as the economy continues to falter, they are becoming not only increasingly more frustrated, but now they're actually reaching a level where they're also beginning to speak out. And it's not just the business community, but also we know many within Donald Trump's own party, many Republican lawmakers are also feeling the exact same way.
Okay, so fast forward to November, the all-important midterms. You know, do you suspect, or is there talk that maybe he will soften on the trade stance if the economy doesn't make a significant turn in his favor?
Yeah, and we've already begun to see some efforts by the president with capitulation on some tariffs as it relates to food prices. And we know that 180 came, of course, after some of these special elections where Republicans just took a drubbing up and down the field. And now I think as we see, and we're told that as many as 20 Republicans, House lawmakers, could actually leave even before the midterm elections. So we could actually see a Democrat become the Speaker of the House even before the first ballot is cast. And so if those numbers continue to go down and Donald Trump's approval rating continues to falter, we could actually see the president aggressively do a U-turn, not just on some of these tariffs, but all. But does that mean that somehow the CUSMA agreement is safe? This is still Donald Trump we're talking about, and we know how mercurial and unpredictable he can be.
Well, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia certainly didn't help the president last night. She appeared on 60 Minutes with its 10 million viewers, and she leaves what? She leaves the first week of January, and she suggested that there are many like her who are not on board with the president anymore and could cause him some trouble. Yeah, that's right. And she is, of course, you know, one of those who is
who many think will open the floodgates to a number of people leaving. And already we have already heard from a number of Republicans, both in the Senate and the House, who have announced they're not running for re-election or they're simply retiring. That's the first group of people who are leaving. Certainly Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of Donald Trump's most loyal and ardent foot soldiers, who has said she will just leave before her term is up. Now the question becomes, how many more are actually going to follow her out the door? Because again, they're growing increasingly frustrated and concerned that Donald Trump continues to treat them as if they don't have power and that they're lapdogs who are simply there to just do the bidding of the president.
Before I let you go, and I'll bring this back to trade, there have been some rumblings, of course, nothing solid, but do you think we'll see the Prime Minister banging on the door of the White House once again here in the next couple of months?
I don't know, because again, Prime Minister Carney has been very, very busy racking up agreements and deals. And I think what we're seeing here is a prime minister as well as a country who recognizes that the United States is no longer a reliable partner, which is why we're seeing Canada create so many deals above and beyond the United States. And so I think what we're seeing here is there is a both and strategy working to try to maintain agreements and alliances with the United States, but also recognizing that that opportunity may have already left the station, and so looking for ways to actually bolster its economy and continue its growth above and beyond the United States.
Eric Ham, our eyes and ears inside the Beltway. It's good to see you. Thanks a lot.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with much more of your newscast after this. In health headlines tonight, Canadian researchers are recommending nerve blockers to give their patients relief from migraines. CTV's Amanda Debison has more in the Lifeline.
A new report involving the University of Calgary has helped recommend new treatment for people with severe migraines.
20% of men at some point in their life will have migraine.
The report by the university and the Barrow Neurological Institute in Phoenix recommends emergency departments treating migraine attacks should use nerve blockers. That means using anesthetic to target nerves at the base of the skull, numbing the area and dampening pain signals. The report will also update the guidelines for the American Headache Society, the first time that's happened since 2016. A recent study finds that the shingles vaccine could reduce the risk of death from dementia. A new study in Nature, along with a follow-up from Stanford Medicine, suggests the vaccine could lower the chances of developing dementia. Researchers say the vaccine may even slow the disease in people already diagnosed. They say the findings add to growing evidence linking certain herpes viruses, including shingles, to dementia, with dementia cases expected to rise sharply, potentially affecting up to 42% of people after age 55. Researchers say these results offer promising new possibilities for treatment and prevention. Finally, Canadian Blood Services say they're looking for more plasma donors ahead of the holidays. The organization calls plasma liquid gold, saying it can support patients having cancer treatments or surgeries. They also say many regular blood and plasma donors may take the holidays off, so they're asking for new donors to step up. Canadian Blood Services says plasma donations are similar to blood donations. They just take a little longer, but the process is largely the same. They say they need 1 million new plasma donors as they expect a 50% rise in demand at hospitals over the next 5 years. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
All right, Katie Kelly's on assignment. She's been working on the 5 o'clock show, but there is entertainment news to tell you about. Hollywood's awards season is now officially underway. This morning, the nominations were announced for the 83rd Golden Globes. ABC's Melissa Dan has a rundown.
Best Television Series Drama.
A month away from the Golden Globes and the nominees are in.
Best Motion Picture Drama, Frankenstein, Netflix.
The largest award show for TV and film kicking off awards season in Hollywood as actors Marlon Wayans and Sky P. Marshall announced the nominees.
You know what freedom is? What? No fear. Go.
One battle after another tops the list with 9 nominations, but it's facing strong competition alongside other blockbusters.
You have the box office cinematic category with big blockbuster, Sinners, Weapons, like movies that people have seen, some smaller films with great acting in it. So it's really, it's an award show where it really crosses all boundaries.
Our hotel is the best in the world.
HBO's The White Lotus leading nominations for shows with adolescents and Only Murders in the Building behind it. The nominations come amidst the bidding war between Netflix and Paramount for Warner Brothers Discovery. Today, Paramount making a hostile bid offer for Warner Brothers just days after the entertainment company reached a $72 billion deal with streaming giant Netflix. If approved, the deal would reshape Hollywood.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm very excited for this episode of Good Hang.
And now there are podcast awards. Roughly 115 million Americans consume them every week, and voices like Alex Cooper, Mel Robbins, and Amy Poehler are nominated. A major step for an industry some say deserves more respect. Neon and Warner Brothers Pictures leading nominations by movie distributors, and Netflix in the lead for the most nods by a TV podcast distributor. The Golden Globes are set for next month. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
And speaking of TV, here's what's on CTV this evening.
With Aaron and Peter. Did you hear we're giving you 20 grand for the holidays?
Plus daily bonus prizes of $500 cash.
Listen for your keywords weekdays every 2 hours from 6 to 6.
On the markets, the Dow Jones kicked off the week on a sour note, down 215 points. We've got more tonight from BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez on that Hollywood blockbuster deal.
The media and entertainment company put a $108 billion deal on the table. That includes assuming Warner Brothers debt. The Netflix offer is about $83 billion US. And if Warner Brothers Discovery decides to accept the new offer, it would be forced to pay Netflix just under $3 billion as a penalty. Whichever way it goes, a deal would likely face some sort of federal review. The union representing Algoma steelworkers says as many as 500 employees could return to work by the end of 2026 with the help of a government loan. The steelmaker is laying off 1,000 workers because American sales have dried up under the weight of Washington's tariffs. Most economists are betting the Bank of Canada will hold the key lending rate this week. That's because Canada reported stronger employment numbers and growth in gross domestic product. The current lending rate is 2.25%. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is 72.16. West Texas Intermediate crude is down over $1 to 58.86. Western Canadian Select is up to 46.74. And the TSX lost 141 points today to end the day at 31,169. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
All right, we were talking about warm, sunny Hollywood. Now we've got the polar opposite.
It's a cold, snowy weather deck out here. I should definitely be wearing a toque. That was a mistake, but thankfully I'm only out here for a couple of minutes. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight. And hey, when life gives you snow, you got to make some art, right? And take a look at this. This is a lobster snow sculpture from Fernandad, Rungay, near the Fredericton area, New Brunswick. I want to thank Fernandad very much for that skillful and very great kind of snow sculpture, very fitting for the Maritimes. Fredericton for tomorrow, cold day, sunshine, high temperature around -9. Speaking of cold, very cold start to the day across the entirety of the Maritimes. Morning temperatures well down to the minus teens for many communities, maybe closer to -8 for a few parts of the coastline, especially for Nova Scotia. And then the afternoon temperatures below average, even for early December, remaining in the range of around -4 to -10 for a good portion of the region, accompanied by a bit of a breezy west and northwest wind. Let's find out what's coming up on Your Morning Atlantic.
Tuesday on Your Morning Atlantic, delightful diva.
Halifax drag queen Maya Fox stops by the show, lets us know what gives her the edge in this season of Canada's Drag Race.
Start your morning with us Tuesday on CTV2 and Crave.
Finally tonight, where were you 45 years ago today? This is hard to believe. It was on this date in 1980 that John Lennon was killed. The famous member of the Beatles was shot by Disturbed fan Mark David Chapman. It was in front of his New York apartment building where he lived with Yoko Ono and, of course, their son Sean. Lennon and Ono were returning home from a recording session. Chapman is still serving his sentence in a New York area prison. John Lennon was 40 years old when he was killed. That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco will be here at 11:30. CTV News Atlantic.ca has updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you right back here tomorrow. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.